Joining us now to break down this issue is Catalina Lauf, a Republican congressional candidate from Illinois. So, Catalina, we've had you on the show before. We know where you stand really concerning the Second Amendment. You're very much so an advocate for Second Amendment rights. What's your response to what's happening right now in Virginia?
Look, it's just a matter of elections have consequences. And this is what happens when we put far left socialist people in office, like what is happening right now in Virginia. And to the gentleman who mentioned in the Trump landslide coming in states like Virginia, it's going to happen because the Second Amendment is one of our most important rights. And if we do not defend it, and if we have people who are like the House of Representatives out in Virginia doing this, where are other states going to land on this? This is a very important issue, and this is why elections matter.
And the reason why this is happening, I think it's important to bring up, too, is that there is a little bit of political pressure from the left. Of course, there's been different school shootings over recent years, church shootings, too, and that actually makes the argument going both ways. We remember the one in Texas where actually the shooter was neutralized by another man with a gun. But we've also heard those on the left kind of use other examples as well, where there have been mass shootings at the hands of AR-15 style weapons, assault weapons, as they call them, or something like that. What has changed in American society? Is this type of stuff new, do you think? Or do you think the media coverage just kind of polarizes this issue?
It's the fact that it is so heavily polarized. The facts are not there. People are focusing way too much on the weapon and not the person. This is a mental health issue when a crazed person goes into a school and shoots innocent lives. That is the person, not the weapon. And we, as strong 2A defenders, need to start going on offense on this issue a lot more by making sure that the facts are very clear. And we're also fighting hard for these rights because this is what happened. You know, Governor Northam mentioned that nobody is knocking on somebody's door and taking our guns away. But this is what leads to that. Any sort of infringement on our Second Amendment rights is an infringement on the Second Amendment right. And at what point do they stop? It's time for us to say no.
And I know that you're from the Chicagoland area. I grew up in Chicago myself, so we're pretty familiar with the idea of gun violence in that city. And I know that you in particular, you've gone to different prisons, you've done other ride-alongs with police officers. What do they say about this issue?
It's unbelievable. I mean, the crimes again are the person, and when you have a city like Chicago that has some of the strictest gun laws yet still has high crime rates, I mean the logic is not there. They talk about common sense gun laws, but there's no common sense when you're talking about restricting the gun and not focusing on the mental health problem. I do go on ride-alongs. I've visited the prisons, and our law enforcement community are huge supporters of law-abiding citizens having guns because it does help against crime. I mean, you have to feel empowered, especially when you're against somebody who is going to hurt you. I mean, look at what AOC just said recently on the assassination attempt on the New York police officers. She mentioned that was a problem of gun violence. That is completely false. The socialists try to manipulate the masses without using the facts and without actually pointing out the obvious, that it is the person and not the weapon.
And I've seen on your social media before, as well as you just kind of talking about this topic in general, where you kind of do speak about the horrors of socialism and communism and what they've done to other countries around the world. Does that kind of fuel your justification, rather, I guess I should say, of why you support so strongly the Second Amendment?
Absolutely. Well, not only the fact that communism, they want to take your guns, and socialists as well. That's the first right that they take. Look at the historical examples. Look at what happened recently in Venezuela. But also the fact that I grew up in a strong Second Amendment household. It was a single issue household. We protect and we know how to shoot guns. We talk about safety. And that's very important that we broaden and expand the people and understanding why it's so important to have a Second Amendment right and why safety and security is important and why we should hold on to it very dearly.
Yeah, Catalina Lauf, your input is always appreciated on this show. For all of our viewers, if you want to learn more about her and her campaign, you can go to catalinaforcongress.com. Catalina, thank you once again for joining us tonight.